Hi, and welcome to Noni's Crafty Kids. I'm Noni. That's just Italian for granny or grandma or abuelita. And I want to just blame my grandson Matthew for this whole business. Matthew got Noni started making rainbow loom projects. And so, Matthew, it's all your fault. Now, having said that, this tutorial is on the Wonder Woman action figure. So let's begin. Right at the beginning, I have to give credit to PG Lumacy. PG is another artist here on YouTube who makes lots of rainbow loom projects. And PG has made a basic action figure design that can be used in many variations to make different types of action figures. So I am using PG Lumacy's basic design, and I definitely want to give credit to him. I'll post the link to his YouTube channel on the screen, and I really encourage you to go check out his wonderful rainbow loom projects. The Wonder Woman action figure is made entirely on a single rainbow loom, set up in the standard offset configuration so that the peg bars are not even across, but are set up like this. As with most of the rainbow loom projects, we begin with the arrows pointing toward us. So hold your loom with the arrows pointing toward you, with the closed part of the horseshoe peg away from you and the open part facing you. The difference with our action figures is that we do not start here at the bottom, but we start here at the top with the arrows pointing toward us. That's the position we begin for almost all of our action figures, and that's where we begin our Wonder Woman. The first thing we're going to do with Wonder Woman is put her headband on the loom. All this is a gold or yellow rubber band that has a red rubber band tied around it. Now, as that is right now, that looks like a hair bow for Minnie Mouse. But these loops will not be seen on the finished figure. All you'll see is that red knot, which will represent the red star that Wonder Woman has on her forehead. So, this set of bands goes right here. You want that knot right in the middle, but it's not terribly important at this point because it'll be moved around quite a bit. There's also, if you notice, a little ledge here at the end of this peg bar. Draw the gold band right down underneath it. Catch it there. That'll hold it in place while you do the rest of your looming. All right, to get started, we begin with black rubber bands, sets of 2. Now, throughout the action figure, all of our rubber bands will be in sets of 2, unless I specifically say differently. There is a set of 3 on her neck, and some of the horizontal bands will be single, some will be double. So, pay attention, and if I don't remember to say double bands, you can just assume that they're double bands, unless I say differently. So first, we start out by placing 3 sets of double bands in her hair color, which in the usual Wonder Woman will be black or very dark brown, across this row. That's our first step. Now we follow with skin color bands. I am using skin color bands from the package available through rainbowloom.com. And I'm using sort of a medium tan here. You can use any skin tone color that you want, or you could use any color that you want. It's completely up to you. So this is the first part of Wonder Woman's face, and I'm going to make one change on this center set. I'm going to twist these rubber bands once, twice, so that you have a nice twist in them like this. That will help to shape Wonder Woman's face. It may not make sense right now, but when we remove her from the loom, you will see how this will pull her face together. All right, now we continue on. Double set in the center and diagonal sets from left to center and right to center. I will try to remember when we have bands that come together to try to do the left to center first and right to center. That will help us keep things in order. Now we've reached her neck, and this is the set of 3 rubber bands. Just like that. This gives some strength to the action figure's neck, since the whole figure is held together by that one set of bands. At this point, it's good to get your blue tool and use it to push down all of these center bands. You can push down the others as well, but especially these here in the center of her neck and face that have so many bands on them. That will make your life much easier as we go. Now you can stop right here and put your horizontal bands on right now. We're going to begin with a single band across the top of her forehead. You can reach it straight across, catch it with your hook, and bring it up onto that peg as a triangle. That holds the top part of her face together. Now, we're going to get a double band bring it here, bring it across. Now excuse me while I turn the loom around so I can use my right hand. Right? Take those double bands and pull them, twist it into a figure 8. Then put it back over itself. 2 rubber bands in a figure 8 across the bottom of the face. This will give Wonder Woman this nice tapered chin, holding her face in place. Now, bring it across here, catch it with your pin, your hook, and bring it up over the center peg. I'm going to get my camera in focus here. And that's what her face looks like. I'm going to add one more here at the top of her head over all 3 pins. So what we have here is a single in her hair color, a single in her skin color, and a double in a figure 8 over itself in the skin color. Now, you can also double this. It will just make a slight difference in the shape of your figure's face. This figure has a double band at the top of the face. This one has a single. And you can see there's just a slight difference in the shape of the face. Let's see if we can turn this camera so we get better light. I think that's a little bit better. Try to arrange myself here. So, we've got Wonder Woman's head laid out. We'll put her eyes and mouth on at the very end after she's removed from the loom. But now we're ready to do her shoulders. So we keep on working in the skin tone bands, beginning in the center, bring double set down, then center to the left, and center to the right. Now I apologize, I know that's confusing because the left I'm using at the top, but this is, you would normally be holding your loom this way, and it's just easier to lay it out in this configuration. So those are the 3 band sets for the top of her shoulders. Now we begin her colorful supersuit. What I have here is metallic gold that I ordered from the rainbowloom.com. These seem to be stronger than some of the other metallic bands that I've been able to order from other sites on the web or find in the craft stores. So I'm rather enthusiastic about the quality of bands that you can get from rainbowloom.com. So for her supersuit, I'm going to use 1 gold and 1 red rubber band. If you don't have metallic gold, just use yellow, which is what I've used here. Okay, so we'll see how the gold looks as we get this loomed together. All right, bring over some more red and gold. We're going to bring red and gold down here. And then in the center, let's try just 2 reds this time. There's all different ways you can arrange the colors. And if you're making a different character, you can give her different color supersuit. But we'll try this way for our Wonder Woman. Now, here is a difference that you do on Wonder Woman that is different than any other superhero. I'm going to bring, I call this the left side, another set of red and gold from this center peg over to the left. Once again, red and gold from the center peg over to the right. That will form the eagle insignia that Wonder Woman wears on the front of her supersuit. And you can press all these down with your tool. All right, now another row of red. Like this. And I'm going to bring the center one blue. As I look at this figure, the red's coming down a little bit too far into her shorts. So let's put blue bands right here. Like that. And the next row, blue bands. I'm using a bright blue gel band for Wonder Woman shorts. If you have blue and white polka dot bands that I have seen available on some websites, those would be great fun, since in the comic books Wonder Woman has white stars on her blue shorts or gold stars on her blue shorts. Either one of those designs would be fine. Okay, now we can continue down her legs using blue for blue tights that Wonder Woman wears in some of the movies. Or we can switch back to skin color bands for the skin color tights Wonder Woman wears in most of the comic books. So we'll do that and use the skin tone for our Wonder Woman. And you want 3 more sets of double bands in skin tone on each leg. Should have one of my friends here helping me make these videos, because then they could say, "You're off camera." It's so easy to lose track of where the camera is shooting when I'm trying to do looming and filming both. There we are. Now we're ready for Wonder Woman's boots. Now I've used silver at the top of her boots. And remember that I said that some of the metallic rubber bands are not the best. And here you see on this Wonder Woman, that metallic band broke. So that was one that I got off a different website. We're going to try the official Rainbow Loom metallic bands for this figure and see if they work any better. So for the top of each boot, we'll have 1 silver metallic and 1 red rubber band for our set of 2. On that side and on the right side. Now, here we'll place double red and double red. Now, we're not quite finished with her boots. We need to make her foot. So I'm going to take 2 red rubber bands, wrap it once, twice, 3 times around my hook. Take a set of 2 red rubber bands, pull it nice and tight, and slide that wrapped band over to the middle. Bring it up so it looks like this on your hook. You can stretch that and get those bands in order so they look nice and neat. This is a basic configuration that we use over and over again in the action figures. We use this for feet, for hands, for ears on the teddy bear and the kitten. This is a good basic configuration to learn. I don't think anybody's given it a name, so I'm going to call it the bud, like a flower bud or a leaf bud, because you can use this little bud figuration to build arms and legs and all sorts of things that you need on your action figures. So, beginning with a nice red bud, I'm going to put it on a second double set of rubber bands. Be careful, rubber bands tend to act like rubber bands. Bring it through and catch it. Now, there's her foot, which we'll put right here, of course, on the base of her leg. And now that acts as a cap band, and we'll be able to loom right up through that and work our way up to the leg. Let's make one more bud. So you see how it's done again. I'm taking 2 bands, wrapping them 3 times around my hook, another 2 band stretch them taut, and slide that first set through the second one. Yeah. There you go. You saw how I got that caught, and I loosened it with my fingers. Put both loops onto your hook, so you actually have four loops on your hook with the little knot hanging down below, and there's your bud. Now we'll need one more red rubber band to connect it to the foot. We've just placed the feet at the bottom of the boots for our Wonder Woman. Now it's time to do the arms, and they are done in a very similar manner. One difference, hands are generally smaller than feet, so where we used 2 rubber bands wrapped around the hook to make the bud for the feet, for the hands I'm just going to use 1. I do use a double set. Turned around to the light here again. And in the same way, pull it tight, draw that wrap band over to the middle, and get that off the hook. There we go. It's in the middle of the band. Bring the other end up and loop it over the hook. Now right here, we go from her hand to her wrist, and Wonder Woman wears her magic bulletproof wrist guards. So for the next set, we use a red and a silver band, and we loom it exactly the same way. Draw those bands to the center, and there's her wristband. Now we're going to do 3 more sets for her arms. And for each of these, I'm using a set of double bands. 2 and 3. Of course, you can make the arms and the legs longer and shorter, depending on what your character is and how you want that character to look. 1, 2, 3. It seems to me that characters with shorter arms and legs tend to be cuter and more childlike, like teddy bears and kittens, where characters with longer arms and legs, like action figures, tend to be more realistic and suitable for action. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for the right arm. 2, 3, for the arm on the right side of the loom. I've wrapped 1 band around my hook, draw it to the center of a double set of bands. There's the bud. That will be the hand. Now, a double set red and silver bands for her wrist guards. Bring it right up. And now 3 more sets of double bands for her arm. Now, you can make these arms and even her entire legs without the loom and have them ready ahead of time. That's really handy, say if you're sharing a loom with a couple of friends or with a brother or sister, or if you're stuck someplace and happen to have rubber bands and don't have a loom with you, you can make arms and legs for your action figures and have them set aside just like this. Yes, it's true. I keep extra body parts around for my action figures. It's just a time saver. And it keeps my hands busy and keeps Noni out of trouble. So let's place this arm on the shoulder. Notice I go from the closed side of the peg, the rounded side, and lift the bands over the open ends of the peg. That eliminates the chance that I would get a rubber band caught on the edge and maybe break a band. All right, now we still have a very important step to do, and that is to place our horizontal bands on her torso to hold the action figure together. So we do not need a horizontal band on the shoulders because we have these diagonals. Likewise, we do not absolutely need one across the chest because we have her eagle there that will hold it tight. But I like to place just a double set across the chest area for some extra strength. After all, Wonder Woman is a superhero and she's strong. So that gives a little more size to the figure. Now, here's a tricky one. For these across the waist of the action figure, we want to pull her waist in very tight. And this is the same with other action figures that have a very trim body. I'm going to bring a set of two, cross them into a figure 8, and bring them back across themselves. So there we have a double set crossed back over itself, and now pull that up and over this band, this peg. So we have very secure waist there in the center of the figure. We're going to do much the same here across the hips, only I'm just going to use one rubber band. Bring it down, double it across, and bring it up. There we go. And you can see this figure, I believe I had one double band. This one I had two, and I think it pulled her hips in a little too tight. So you can work on those and see which method you like the best. But we're going to use one horizontal band here. So we've finished the placement of our rubber band. So we'll just hold this here for a moment. You can pause the video and make sure that your loom looks just like this for your Wonder Woman action figure. And now we'll begin looping the bands, beginning down here at her boots. I'm going to begin up the left side to the shoulders, up here. Then I'll go over here to the right side, work my way up to the shoulder. When we get here, these bands will be looped toward the center, just like the shoulders will be. So we'll probably fast forward here, and then we'll slow down when we get up here to the shoulders and chest to show you how that's done. All right, here we are at the second diagonal set on the chest. So I want to show you that we push back these horizontal bands and grab, get my hand out of the way of the camera, grab those two bands that are coming from the center peg. Now, when I'm pulling bands out from a big cluster, I like to slide the bands up to the stronger part of the hook and lift gently, and there they released. Use my thumb to hold them in place, and there we are. Now we're ready for this next set, red and gold bands that come up here to the shoulder. And at the other side, reach under that horizontal band, grab the red and gold set, bring it up onto the shoulder. Now, this is a good time to take this tool, push the shoulder and the center bands down. All right. This is also a good point to remind you how to tell which of your bands have been loomed and which are still waiting to be loomed. This is such an easy mistake to make because you've come up to the shoulders, these are all done, and it's far too easy to think, okay, my next one is go on up the neck to the face. But these center bands have not yet been loomed, and you can tell that because these are not in the teardrop shape the way the ones on the side pegs are. So we need to come back, grab this, bring it up to the forward peg. Now reach through, grab that one, bring it up to the forward peg. Now this one in the center, gently, and up to the forward peg. Now the next one is one of the most difficult on the action figure because we need to find this set of rubber bands and bring it forward to this center one. So we push back all of the red and gold and find the flesh-colored, skin-colored bands, pull it up to a stronger part of the hook, and very gently wiggle it back and forth till it releases. And there you are. Now, from the sides, we do the same thing with the shoulders. Grab that double set of skin-colored bands, ease it out, and over the center peg. One more time. Let's see if we can see my hook on camera. There. Very good. Grab those skin-colored bands, bring them out through the center, and onto that center peg. Now, here's another difficult place. We need to get these rubber bands up through the center of all these others and bring them back up to the forward peg. One thing that I find is helpful, grab those bands from the outside and pull them so they're laying right down low. I don't think I can get a shot of this on the camera. Right down low on their peg. Let's see, there it is right there. You want them down as far as you can get them. And remember that this is a triple set, not just a double set. So in you go. Grab those bands. You're going to have 3 on your hook. Now push your hook through to a stronger point and ease them out. And that worked very nicely. Okay. We've got the teardrop shape, so that tells us that none were left behind. Okay, now here we are. Let me turn this around. We look and see which of these sets for her chin is on top, and it should be the one on the right. So reach in, get the first 2, bring them over and off the hook, gently release them, and there we are. Now don't let this fool you. This is the horizontal band. But there's the set going over here in the teardrop shape. So we got the right bands. Now we're going to go. These look like they're a little twisted, so I'm going to get the center one and pull it down. Just the center band. And pull it down so it's separated from these. So I'm going to grab these next. Pull it up, gently out, and over the top of the peg. And now finally the middle bands. Grab those, bring them out, and over the top. So we've finished pretty much the hardest part of the looming process, bringing all of those bands through all of these that are piled up together. Okay, next we do these 2 up the left side of her face. Again, got a lot of bands on there, so we want to be careful. Now that doesn't look like a teardrop, does it? Let's go in and loosen these and see what we have here. There we go. It really helps if you have a lot of bands like this to run your hook around the outside of the peg, and that will loosen up those bands so that you can get your teardrop shape. Let's do this one over here. Reach down inside, grab the double set. Doesn't want to release, and there we go. Over the peg. Right? Now we're here in the center. Remember that we twisted the rubber bands as we laid them down, as we placed them. So I'm going to grab this from the center, bring it up, and I'm going to twist it again. So I want to keep those twists. That makes it a little harder to loop it over the peg. So get that on like that. That's 1. And 2. There. So I've got twist in that band. Right? Now we have these 3 left to hook, to loop, like that. In the center. And the opposite side. Now remember way back at the beginning, whoop, we dropped one here. There we go. I'm going to turn that over because I don't need this one to be twisted. Better. All right, back at the very beginning, remember this gold band? Now we can lift it, wrap it right there so it lays over the top of all this hair. Okay? Now we go back over all of our looming, make sure that all of our bands are caught and nothing's laying down that hasn't been looped. Down here, look through the loom at the center, make sure all of these are caught. There. Turn the loom around, check this side. And I've learned that I have to do this before I begin the finishing process of any of my figures, because I can make so many mistakes, and it's better to check before making a mistake. Now there's a loose band, but that's okay. That's her headband. That can lay there. These are loose. That's okay. Those are at the top of her head. Our next step now will be to add lots of hair for Wonder Woman's beautiful long curly hair. Time to put the finishing touches on our Wonder Woman action figure, working first with her hair. Right? We have not finished off these 3 pegs up here. So I'm going to put my hook down through the left side peg, just as you would if you were going to finish off a bracelet. But watch closely because we're going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to bring this double set of black bands through and just hold them like that. I'm going to get a second set, bring it through, and now I'm going to continue to make a single chain made with double bands for a total of 6 links in this chain. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now the 6th one, I'm going to pull this whole braid down here and catch shoulder band. Being careful not to lift anything off the loom, I'm going to bring that through the chain, and now I'll bring it through itself and make a slip knot. Just like that. Now I'm going to put that loop right over here. And that's just to hold it. Get her hand out of the way so you can see what I did. Okay, you see we have a free peg on either side of her neck. So I'm going to make use of that and let that hold the slip knot. Now we're going to make 4 more of these single chains in the hair color. Each chain will have 6 links. If you want to make 5 links or 7 links, or have them much longer and go all the way down her back, that's fine. But I've found that 5 chains is about right. We're going to put 2 on this peg, 2 on the peg on the opposite side, coming down to this shoulder. And then the 5th one will be here in the center, come all the way down to her shoulder, and then we'll tie all 5 together. So you can fast forward from this point, and we'll do the next 4 chains, and then I'll show you how we tie them together. There, now I found those escapee bands and tied them into a double knot. You could use a C-clip if you prefer. I like to use the knot on her hair. And now we're ready to hold our breath and remove Wonder Woman from the loom. When you get to the center portions where there are so many rubber bands on each peg, it will help to use your hook, your tool, to lift those bands off. And again, you want to go from the closed side of the peg downward so that you have less of a risk of catching a peg in the rubber band and breaking one, which would be heartbreaking at this stage. This is one of the tougher ones to get off. And there we go. We'll fast forward again. So here is our Wonder Woman just off the loom with her very, very thick hair. I didn't really need to use double bands for the 5 single chains that make up her braids. As you see on this Wonder Woman, those are single chains, and they're just fine. But she has particularly gorgeous hair. Now, in order to put on her eyes and her mouth, we're going to use single rubber bands with a knot in the center. This is for her mouth, and then we'll have 2 more, the black, for her eyes. Okay. This is a good way to use any of those bands that might be from former projects that came apart or that you dismantled that are not especially tight. I'm not looping that band on my fingers, but rather I'm holding it closed and wrapping it so that one end crosses the other. Then I bring my hook up through the center, which is why it's good to have 2 fingers. Grab one end and pull it through, slip your fingers out, and you've got a knot. It's a very useful technique to know. So now, set this aside, and I have a C-clip here someplace. You can use a C-clip or an S-clip, whichever you happen to have. And now I'm going to go in from the back of her head. Okay, push her hair out of the way, reach through, and I'm going to come right in here, the lower part of her face, just to one side of the center. Grab one end of the smile and bring it back through to the back of her head, and trying not to catch any other of the loops. There. Now, we'll catch that. Whoop, don't let go. Catch that in the C-clip, just like that. Okay? Now, we're going to do that again on the other side of the lower part of her face, catching just a couple, leaving just a couple bands in between the 2 ends. Bring it through to the back of her head. Again, getting rid of any of those skin tone bands the hook picked up along the way without losing the red band. And there we go. Well, now we're there. Okay. You want to keep it underneath all that hair and slip it onto the C-clip. Now I have on most of my figures brought the facial rubber bands through and tied knots underneath the hair. But what I'm finding on Wonder Woman is that makes her features a little bit too tight. So that's a nice mouth. Bring that knot to the center. Okay, push this out of the way. Now we're going to work on the eyes. What you want to look for are these horizontal bands that we put on her face that hold her face together. So once again, we come in from the back and through all those bands in the spot wherever we want the eye to be. Right? Grab one part, bring it through to the back, catch it on the C-clip. Bring the hook through again in almost the same spot, but one or two bands to the side. Grab a loop, draw it through, and catch that end on the C-clip. So our Wonder Woman is coming along. I've got her mouth and both eyes placed now. I'm not entirely happy about the placement of the eyes, but as everything relaxes, we'll see how she is as we adjust her further. And now the last thing we're going to do is bring these loops from her headband back to the back of her head and catch those on the C-clip as well, just as we've done with the mouth and the eyes. So the headband, you can look at it as being the very first and the very last thing that we adjust on Wonder Woman. So coming through her hair by that headband, grab that red loop, bring it all the way to the back, catch it in the C-clip along with all those others. And there should be one more. Here it is. Let's see, that's all right where it is. Bring it here, catch it in the C-clip. She has a nice little crooked smile. I rather like that. Bring her hair around, zhuzh it a little bit. She's got a stray curl here and there, which adds to the natural look. Now here, these ridges are because I got so carried away and made double single chains back here on her hair instead of just using single loops. But she looks pretty good anyway. I'm very happy with the gold bands here on her supersuit. They are not as much contrast as the yellow bands. So there's a difference. I brought her shorts up a little higher on her waist, and we can give our new Wonder Woman a magical lariat and a belt, can't we? Okay, that is very, very simple. Let's see, let's use white. Here is a lariat, and here are some white bands for a belt. Now all we need to do here is, beginning here at her side, catch just one rubber band from her belt, or from her super suit. Bring it through, and then bring it through itself in a slip knot. Draw that around her back. Get a second band and do it again. Make a slip knot. Draw it all the way across. And now we're ready to catch the first one that we did. Let's see if I can catch that same loop. Well, we'll just catch both of them like this. Now all this is a chain of 5 single rubber bands. So now I've got 2 rubber bands around her waist for her belt. Grab an end of the lariat, bring it through, and now grab the other end and bring it through itself, and draw that all the way through. There's Wonder Woman's belt. You could use gold or yellow, whatever color you want. You could make 3 bands or 4 bands. Here I've used yellow, and it looks like I've used 4 bands going around her waist that time. This one looks like 3. Okay, then take her hand right there. Remember, we called that the bud. We'll put your hook right through the bud. We could also call that her fingers. Grab the end of the lariat, draw it right through her hand. And there's Wonder Woman's magic lasso. Oh, and I promised you I'd tell you about why we twisted the center loop when placing the rubber bands for her face. On this example, you'll see here are the twisted bands, and they stand out just a tiny bit from the face, as if she has a 3-dimensional nose. On this example, I did not twist those bands, and they form a V shape in the middle of her face, which is not quite as realistic. And her eyes, I tied in a knot at the back of her head instead of using a C-clip. So her eyes have a tendency to want to disappear back into her face. So there's a lot of tension on those. So on this one, by twisting that rubber band, we get the effect of a nose. And by using a C-clip, there's not as much tension on her eyes, and we can adjust them and scoot them around a little bit till we get her face looking just the way we want. And there we go. And you do know, of course, that you can pose these action figures very much the way you can pose your regular plastic figures that you buy at the store. By pulling one side of a loop of a set of bands, you can turn her hands up or down. Pull the other side of the loop and her hand will go down. Pull it forward and she can reach forward. I like to bend at the knee so she looks like she's flying through the air. Of course, unknowns to unsuspecting villains, she is in her invisible airplane. And there's your action figure, Wonder Woman. And you can modify her and change the colors and change her position, change her face, and do whatever you want to do to make her your very own action figure. Thank you for watching Noni's Crafty Kids. If you like this video, please click like down beneath the screen and subscribe to our channel. And we'll be doing lots more rainbow looming projects, action figures, and gifts. So take care, and Noni will check on you later. Bye-bye.